flight from Dallas to Washington was running late, and the cabin was already packed. Passengers were restless. Attendants were rushing. And somewhere near the middle aisle, in seat 2-C, sat a man with tired eyes and a quiet smile. Asterisk, Jake Lawson. A single dad in his late 30s. Wore a faded bomber jacket and held a small teddy bear in his lap. His 7-year-old daughter, Emily, had begged him to take it along. "For luck, Daddy," she'd said before he left. But luck hadn't been on Jake's side lately. As passengers filed in, a sharply dressed businessman stopped beside him, frowned, and muttered, "Asterisk, guess they'll let anyone on planes these days?" Asterisk. A few people chuckled. Jake lowered his gaze, pretending not to hear. Asterisk. He was used to it. The sideways looks, the whispers. He didn't look like the successful type anymore. No fancy suit, no briefcase, just a worn-out jacket and quiet dignity. What they didn't know was that Jake Lawson once flew F-22K Raptors for the U.S. Air Force. He had more flight hours than most of the pilots flying this plane. But after losing his wife to cancer, he left everything behind to raise his little girl. Asterisk. As the plane taxied to the runway, turbulence delayed takeoff. Passengers groaned. The same businessman complained loudly, "We're wasting time." Probably some maintenance issue because they hired cheap labor. Asterisk. Jake said nothing, though his hand twitched against the armrest, a muscle memory from years of waiting for clearance to take off. Asterisk. Half an hour later, as they finally climbed through the clouds, the captain's voice came over the intercom.com. But tense. Asterisk. Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking. We've just been asked to enter a temporary holding pattern due to restricted airspace ahead. Please remain seated. Asterisk. Jake frowned. That wasn't normal for this route. His pilot instincts kicked in. Restricted airspace this wide. Only one reason. Air Force One was nearby. Asterisk. Passengers started murmuring. Is it the president? What's happening? Why are we circling? Then, suddenly, a young flight attendant hurried down the aisle, stopping at Jake's seat. "Sir, are you Major Lawson? Call sign Falcon 2. Asterisk. The businessman next to him raised an eyebrow. "Falcon, what now?" Asterisk. Jake looked stunned. "That was a long time ago," he said quietly. "Why?" Asterisk. The attendant's voice trembled with excitement. "Sir, Air Force Command just contacted our cockpit. They identified you on the passenger manifest. Air Force One has requested your presence on a secured comm line." And she paused, smiling in disbelief. "They're asking for your escort." Asterisk. The cabin went silent. Every eye turned toward to see. Asterisk. Jake slowly stood up. The businessman's smug expression melted into shock. You're a pilot." Asterisk. Jake gave a faint smile. Was. Once. Asterisk. Minutes later, the pilot opened the cockpit door and handed Jake a headset. The voice on the other end was firm and respectful. Asterisk. Major Lawson. "Sir, this is Colonel Reeves. The President remembers your actions over the Baltic mission. We'd be honored if you could provide visual confirmation on our current route. Welcome back, Falcon 2. Asterisk. Jake's throat tightened. It had been years since anyone called him that. Asterisk. Out the window. The clouds parted, and there it was, Air Force One, gleaming in the sunlight. The passengers gasped as 2 fighter jets swept past, flanking their commercial plane in salute. The captain tilted slightly, giving Jake a clear view. Asterisk. Jake placed his hand on the window, his eyes misting. "Roger that, Air Force One. Falcon 2's got your 6. Asterisk. The cabin erupted in applause. Even the businessman stood, red-faced, but clapping. The same people who had laughed now watched with tears. Realizing the man in seat 2-C had once guarded the skies they slept under. Asterisk. When Jake returned to his seat, the flight attendant whispered, "Sir, the president asked me to give you this message. Thank you for your service, and for being the hero your daughter already knows you are." Asterisk. Jake smiled faintly, gripping the teddy bear in his hand. Tell him, I'm just a dad, doing his best. Asterisk, as the flight continued, no one looked down on seat 2 to see again. The whispers had turned into respect. The humiliation had turned into honor. Asterisk, and as Jake landed back home, the little bear in his hand felt heavier, not with sadness, but with pride. Asterisk, because sometimes the world forgets what quiet heroes look like. Asterisk, until their call sign reminds everyone who they truly are. The moment the plane landed, passengers still looked at Jake with quiet awe. The same businessman who had sneered before now stood by the aisle, waiting for him. Asterisk, I owe you an apology, he said, voice low, eyes downcast. Didn't realize I was sitting next to someone who's done more for this country than I ever could. Asterisk, Jake smiled, not out of pride, but humility. You don't owe me anything. Just be kind to the next person who looks tired. You never know what battles they've fought. Asterisk, as Jake stepped off the plane, the airport terminal seemed brighter somehow. Waiting near the gate was a small blonde girl in a blue dress, clutching a sign that said, "Welcome home, Daddy," in crayon. Emily, asterisk, he dropped his bag, knelt, and swept her into his arms. For a moment, the world stopped moving. Asterisk, did you take Teddy with you? She asked eagerly. Asterisk, Jake grinned and held up the small bear. Of course. He was my co-pilot today. Asterisk, she laughed. And in that sound, every hardship, every sleepless night, every moment of loneliness melted away. Asterisk, a few yards away, a young airport employee snapped a quick photo, Jake hugging Emily, sunlight pouring through the terminal glass, the teddy bear between them. Later, that picture would spread across social media under the caption, asterisk seat to 2. See, never judge a quiet man's story. Asterisk that night. As Jake tucked Emily into bed, she looked up and whispered, "Mommy would be proud of you." Asterisk, Jake brushed a tear from his eye and kissed her forehead. "I hope so, baby girl. I really hope so." Asterisk, downstairs, his phone buzzed, a message from an unknown number. It read, asterisk, greater than Major Lawson. The president asked me to tell you, whenever you're ready, your wings are waiting. Asterisk, Jake smiled, staring out the window at the stars. He didn't need medals or missions anymore. His greatest honor was already asleep upstairs, dreaming with a teddy bear in her arms. Asterisk, and somewhere high above, Air Force One crossed the night sky, escorted by 2 jets, their lights blinking in perfect formation. Jake watched, hand on the glass, whispering softly, asterisk, roger that. Air Force One, Falcon 2, still watching over. Asterisk, the world didn't see it. But in that moment, a quiet man's legacy flew once again, not through the skies, but through the hearts of everyone who finally understood that true strength never asks to be seen. It simply shines when the world needs it most.